We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this Rebel Outpost, support the home for the college football sickos with a donation. Hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio, even those Purdue spoiler makers that are going to try to defeat my beloved Golden Gophers this weekend, homecoming weekend for Minnesota. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Don Scruggs is in the house, the Georgia Bulldog. Outlawskis, Al Woody, Bruce Harris, Bob Swanger, Still Austin, David Kreitzer is in the house. AMAC, Kayla Ramirez, Buckeye. Jared Jones, Buckeye. Olarmy, Red Raider. Bruce Harris, no singing. Still haven't caught all my dogs from the other day. Bruce, I have been told my last singing performance was probably my most brilliant performance since I sang I wear my sunglasses at night on a parody of Connor Stallions. I've been told, I don't know, I've been told the word on the street, my last performance was absolutely golden. John Grove is in the house. He is predicting some big upsets. John Teal is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, John. Taylor Mott, go Pokes. Bimba 75, 79, go Blue, Mr. Seminole himself. Morris Simmons is in the house. The Architect is here. Yogi Buck Sr. is here. Jay Chapman. All right. Thanks for everybody coming on in. I do appreciate it so very much. Again, this is a national college football YouTube channel. We cover everything, or we try to. We don't get to everything, but we try. We do not focus on one program. We do not focus on one conference. Now, the title of our show today is Big Ten Option B. Is in play if the private capital deal falls short. It might even be in play if it doesn't entirely fall short. So once again, we're going to be talking about the Big Ten. I'm this close from calling the Big Ten soft again.
Oh my God!
Soft again.
Oh my God!
I called the Big Ten soft a couple of weeks ago because as of right now, they're not leveling any requirement to their members to play 10 Power 4 games during the regular season. Soft. I'm this close from calling the Big Ten soft again today. And something entirely different. I'm holding back. I'm not going to go on a rant. Well, maybe I will. I can't promise you I will not go on a rant. I'm close. I'm very close to going on a rant again versus the Big Ten on a whole different subject matter. And that subject matter being enforcement. So I'm going to be talking Big Ten when it comes to this, the potential softness once again on enforcement. And also option B, we're going to get into that at the back end of the monologue. It's the major story that we are going to be covering here at Peek Around the Corner. We are first going to lead off, and it is a story of yesterday that I was not able to get to. So I'm going to get to it today. Tom debate, who has a higher winning percentage, Greg the Gold or Bill Belichick without Tom Brady? Well, I'm 42 and 44. So figure out that winning percentage, and then go to Bill Belichick's coaching record without Tom Brady. Let me know who is in the lead. Silent Tony is unbothered, Greg. He can't be touched. This microphone and the fat guy behind it, I'm this close from going on another rant. There's one thing that is stopping me, one thing only, and it has nothing to do with the Big Ten, strong people ready to take me down. I'm already person non grata over there in Rosemont, Illinois. There's one thing that's holding me back, and we'll get to that. We will get to that. Dylan Edwards, Pete Knuckles on 3, Kansas State running back. Dylan Edwards is currently not expected is currently not expected to redshirt this season. His agent, Reggie Blackwell, tells On3. Transfer portal speculation has been on social media Thursday. He's excited to get back on the field as he works through some injuries. So the word on Dylan Edwards, he's currently not expected to redshirt. The rumors about a transfer portal doesn't look, as of right now, doesn't look to be true. What also doesn't look to be true is the reporting of yesterday on North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick. It does not sound like Ross Dellinger just did a college football podcast. It doesn't sound like those stories were true, that they were working on an exit strategy. So, I don't know. We'll continue to follow the story, but Carolina 247 and another person out there in Carolina, beat writers, I don't know. They may not have the story correct. We'll see. Before we get to the main topic, there's a couple of things I want to get to. OBD Don, Super Chat. Woo! Starting us off in a big way. OBD Don, Super Chat. Greg, if the Big Ten gets much softer, they will make Charmin jealous. You know what I think, Opie? I think it might be Minnesota Golden Gophers' fault. I think it started in Minnesota. Because for years, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, no matter if they won 8 games, 7 games, 4 games, Minnesota Golden Gophers were always tough at the line of scrimmage, were always able to run that football. Soft is not what the Gophers were, but suddenly, we couldn't run the ball on Opie and all the gentlemen in his neighborhood. So it started at Minnesota. The Big Ten is going soft. We're going to talk about it. I'm not going to try to get on another Big Ten soft rant, but I'm close. Very close. Very close. Go. Ryan Brooks is in the house. Florida Man is here. Kenneth Stromness is here. Daniel Gygax. Movie Time Blues. Thanks for coming on in. Opie, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you for starting us off on such a splendid note, Mr. O.B. Didon. Okay. This was published yesterday, and I did not get to it. We had a stack show yesterday. We have a stack show today. Every day's a stack show. Toughest paths forward when it comes to schedules. Teams still looking to get in to the college football playoffs. Teams that have a chance to get to the college football playoffs. Well, number one is South Carolina. Now, the problem I have with this is South Carolina does not have a chance to get to the playoffs. Yeah, they might have the toughest schedules for those, but South Carolina is not getting to the playoffs. Not with that offensive line. You're talking about soft? Just wait to see. Just wait until you see Ryan Brooks's LSU Tigers defense go against that offensive line. Anyway, South Carolina has the toughest path forward. Big time 4-game gauntlet at LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss. Number 2 is Oklahoma. They have the second toughest path to get to the college football playoffs when you consider the schedule. 3 of the 4 games are away from home. They're talking about the 3 toughest games. Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee. John Mateer now is questionable for Texas game this Saturday. He's questionable, which I don't think any Sooner fan wanted to hear. Number 3 on the top 5 toughest schedules to get to the college football playoffs from here on in. Alabama, they play Missouri Saturday, and they're going to lose to Missouri. The Alabama Crimson Tide are going to lose to Missouri. You all know this. I've been telling you all year. I took Missouri to go to the playoffs. I don't have Alabama to go to the playoffs because of this game. Because of this game. I'm laying my whole credibility on the line. Greg the Gold, for the last 2 weeks, I'm putting all my chips in the middle of the table. The Missouri Tigers are going to win this football game. Absolutely. So yeah. Alabama has got a very tough schedule. Tennessee, South Carolina. Number 4 on the top 5 toughest schedules to get to the college football playoffs. USC. Home against Michigan this Saturday, which is a crazy game. I don't know if that game is going to be a high-scoring game, a low-scoring game. Then they got to play Notre Dame. They got to play Nebraska. And number 5 on the list is Arizona State. Big game this Saturday. Utah, Texas Tech, an up-and-coming Houston team, and Iowa State at Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. Jack Trice Stadium. That is not going to be an easy game. Sun Devils have a very difficult path. What about the top 5 easiest paths when it comes to the schedule to get to the college football playoffs? Number 1 is Georgia Tech. Undefeated. What are they ranked? 13th. At home against Virginia Tech. At Duke. Now that's going to be a tough one. Syracuse is melting away. North Carolina State is melting away. But Georgia Tech still has that game on November 28th against the Georgia Bulldogs. But Georgia Tech has a schedule. They can get into the college football playoffs. They can get to the ACC championship game. The second easiest path is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Besides that game at USC, it's all laid out in front for Notre Dame. They can get to the playoffs, 10-2 record. They got to beat USC at home on October 18th. The third easiest path is the number 1 team in the country. I got them number 2. The undefeated Miami Hurricanes at home against Louisville. Friday night game. Stanford, SMU. Everything is out in front for Miami. They should go into the college football playoffs as the number 1 or number 2 seeded team. It's all out in front for the Miami Hurricanes. The third easiest schedule as of right now to get to the college football playoffs. Number 4 is the Texas Longhorns. If they can get by in Oklahoma, and again, John Mateer is questionable. They play at Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. It's all there in front of them. The Longhorns, even though they're struggling, they can mount up. And the 5th easiest schedule is your beloved TCU Horned Frogs. They go on the road against a psychologically struggling Kansas State Wildcats. Then they're at home against Baylor, at West Virginia. November, Iowa State, BYU, Cincinnati. So TCU has a schedule that can get them possibly into the college football playoffs. Movie Time Blues. According to On3, Jedd Fisch's name is mentioned in the UCLA coaching search. I saw that as well. I'm not buying that at all. Jedd Fisch, close relationship with Casey Wasserman. So, okay, UCLA would have interest. Does Jedd Fisch actually want to do that? I cannot fathom that. I cannot get there with that. But I did see that Movie Time Blues. I did see that. MBM, they're not getting there with Arch. Texas isn't even ranked. Okay. So that's what I wanted to go through yesterday real quick. I did not have the time. We had a stack show. Let's talk about one big time breaking news here. The LSU Tigers. LSU Deputy Athletic Director Clay Harris announces Tigers have signed a multi-million-dollar jersey patch sponsor. In September, Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reported the NCAA is considering making a rule change that would allow sponsors to pay schools to place their logos on team uniforms. On Thursday, Front Office Sports today revealed LSU has already struck a deal in anticipation of the change. We have a signed agreement, LSU Deputy Athletic Director and Chief Revenue Officer Clay Harris told Front Office Sports. We've mapped it out. It'll be on all of our uniforms, every sport. Harris is reportedly confident the change will be approved. LSU would be the first school to capitalize on the new rules if they are approved. Harris did not reveal what company agreed to the deal with LSU. However, he did reportedly note LSU could rival some of the top pro sports teams in jersey patch dollars. So my first question to the PATC community: what is the jersey patch? What is the sponsorship? MBM says Raising Cane's. I would go with Popeyes. Popeyes. Fat Tuesdays. Interesting. Now, again, there probably is other athletic departments that have a deal lined up. I mean, this is the one that is known that Front Office Sports was able to reveal, but maybe there's other schools. Maybe the Ohio State Buckeyes or the Michigan Wolverines have a possible big jersey patch deal all lined up. And maybe that is one of the details that has to be negotiated between the 18 universities in the conference and the private equity firm, because bundling up your jersey patch content, in theory, could raise more money for everybody in the conference. But if one school comes out and has a big deal with the sponsorship, well, now do you put two jersey patches on the uniform? Is one your major local jersey patch? Is the other your conference nationwide jersey patch? I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there. How much is this jersey patch worth for LSU? It's in the millions of dollars every year, and it's a multi-million-dollar deal. I don't have the answer to it. Pretty interesting Pretty interesting indeed. ExxonMobil Tiger, Adam Vulture. Ron Elite, LSU could be sponsored by Walk-Ons, a restaurant. I think it's owned by an LSU alumni. Don Scruggs, the Ohio State doesn't know anything about fried chicken. Morris Simmons, Florida State could get the Seminole Casino patch or Hard Rock. Okay. Now, again, what are we looking at? How many, when the NCAA approves the jersey patch, how many jersey patches are they approving? Like, can you put like 16 on? You're probably not going to be able to do that, right? You're not going to be able to put 16 on there. You don't want your jerseys to become NASCAR vehicles. NASCAR cars. But could there be 2 jersey patches like so LSU isn't possibly screwing up some conference-wide Southeastern Conference deal that they could get major Southeastern Conference branding by a national advertiser? I don't know, but something to keep an eye on. Now, Big Ten, I don't know what you're doing here. Again, this is not the Big Ten option B story that I'm about to get to, okay? That's a completely different story. But we got to talk about this first. The Big Ten's dispute over postseason bans stalls enforcement agreement. Ross Dellinger, early this morning, the Big Ten walks alone again. Over the summer, quietly and without fanfare, the Southeastern Conference presidents signed a document binding their schools together under the House settlement terms. Remember, we talked about this. The membership or participation agreement was meant to coalesce power conference schools in a formal alliance. The document prevents universities from using their state laws to violate new enforcement rules and penalties. It requires schools to waive their rights to pursue legal challenges against new enforcement entity, the College Sports Commission. More than 3 months have passed since SEC executives signed the agreement, and no other league has joined them. No other league has joined them. The Southeastern Conference went and they signed it. What gives? Well, it's complicated. Firstly, a new version of the agreement has recently emerged from Washington, D.C. based law firm. The document is in the midst of the final revisions for power conference executives. The SEC must sign it again. But none of that. Okay, so it's going to be revised. Everyone would have to sign it again. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the Big Ten did not sign it months ago. I'm not buying that. However, back to the article. Whether all 4 leagues will sign this new agreement remains unclear, as one entity is at the center of the delay. It's none other than the Big Ten. Big Ten officials are opposed to agreeing to such a legal document. If the College Sports Commission has the authority to apply a postseason ban as a penalty. According to those within the conference, the Big Ten believes that a postseason ban negatively impacts players and only wants a limited application of a postseason penalty, such against the school that ignores previously handed down sanctions or obstructions or investigations. But for the violations such as knowingly exceeding the revenue share cap, compensating players illegally or other matter, a postseason ban should not be on the proverbial table. Of course it should be. Of course it should be. This is not the sentiment held by the other three conferences. The other three conferences are correct. Everybody's saying we need to have rules, said one Power League athletic director from outside the Big Ten. Unless there are significant consequences, how do we enforce these rules? We are once again in a no man's land because of the inaction of one of our conferences. That's not healthy for the sustainability of college athletics. The delay in signing the agreement is causing problems, as it also puts new penalties on their enforcement in limbo. Those within the college boards view the document as the single most essential piece to enforcing new rules around the industry's revenue share concept, most notably the prohibition of booster back deals for athletes within the House settlement cap and compensation structure. And finally, in this article, Back Bay 22, who gives a crap? I give a crap, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment. And I don't know if I can hold to the promise that I'm not going to go on a rant. With the three other conferences sign the document and not play the Big Ten schools, this seems highly unlikely, of course. It seems likely that either the Big Ten strikes a compromise over the postseason ban penalty and signs, or the new version of the document is not signed by anyone, and likely the lawsuits continue to be filed against any enforcement. My God, what the hell is going on around here?
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
Of course it matters. This membership document was so all the schools would sign. Remember, I can't believe I'm going down this road again. The maroon and gold God in the sky, you have forsaken me. All the schools had to come together, and they did, to sign the settlement. The House versus NCAA settlement. Why did they come together and sign off on that settlement? Because the House lawyers had us over a thumb. They had all the leverage. They've got the case. They're going to win the case. They're going to win the class action case. They did win it. But it was about the penalty. It was about how bad it was going to be. In this settlement, within this settlement, there is the Sports Commission, the Deloitte, the Rev Share, on and on and on. And there's also this part about a $2.8 billion back pay. We got to follow the damn rules in this settlement. Because if we don't, then the House lawyers are going to rip it up. And that $2.8 billion could go to a $20 billion back pay settlement. And God help us. Your billionaires and millionaires that back your schools, they're not going to pay for that back pay. You're talking about Olympic sports going away and women's sports not being supported and all these other talking points that are going on. Those would all be just ripped away. The settlement has to be followed. And this membership document was, everyone would sign that so your school would not take part in your state suing what we've got here. In other words, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee can sue, but the University of Tennessee would not take part in the suit. That's what this document was for. And Tennessee actually signed this. Now, why didn't the Big Ten take a lead in signing this document? Why not? What's the problem? Silent Tony has plans. Silent Tony does not get a pass for this. He doesn't. Yeah, he's working on some stuff, and we are going to give you that information. But again, and you know what it is? You know what the Big Ten excuse is? We do not, and this doesn't work for me anymore, brother. Their excuse in not signing this document, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Their excuse is, fine, enforcement, penalties, that's all cool, but the Big Ten is saying it cannot impact the student athletes playing in these sponsored sports. You cannot have a postseason ban just because your school went over the revenue share cap a little bit. You cannot have a postseason ban because it doesn't just negatively impact your school, but in your program, your football program or basketball program, but it negatively affects your student athletes on that team. That's why us, the Big Ten, Charmin Soft Big Ten, we cannot abide by this. That doesn't work anymore. Do you know why that doesn't work anymore? Do you know why that doesn't work anymore? Because I'm sorry about the negative impact on these student athletes, but it doesn't work anymore because these student athletes in the revenue sharing programs, basketball and football, they're getting paid. They're getting paid. They're getting paid. I am sorry that your program cheated in a way that you have a postseason ban and it's negatively impacting the ability of that player to play on that playoff game, basketball game, but your players are getting paid. That changes the equation. You're not taking everything away from the students. They're getting paid. And by the way, a postseason ban would negatively affect the program, and that future players are going to have to think twice. Future student athletes are going to have to think twice about joining a program that would go over the revenue share cap. And another reason why this doesn't work for me, brother, Silent Tony, this is pathetic. The second reason why it doesn't work is because the Big Ten has it all structured. It has it all structured. The schools report their rev share, the numbers that they're giving to the players, and it goes to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is policing you. So, and I know the rev share is just one component, but it's the major component of what they're policing, what the enforcement would be all about. So Big Ten, there's no reason that you did not sign that document months ago. There's no reason that you don't sign that document today or whenever it gets But this is why. This is the main reason why they didn't sign it. In my humble opinion, you want to call this speculation, you go ahead and call this speculation. I'll get into it in a second. Super chat, OBD Don. Thank you for the $10 holler. Jeez, you got to be kidding me, Godfather. You have a goal, sir. Rant away. Thank you for your generosity, Opie. Thank you for starting us off once again with the super chats, supporting this program, helping us keep the lights on. Thank you so very much. But the real reason, in my humble opinion, and we'll go ahead and call this speculation on why the Big Ten did not sign the membership document, is because, remember, give me a yes. If anybody remembers this, put down a yes in the chat. Remember when PATC reported to you all that the Southeastern Conference, in those advisory groups with the Big Ten, that advisory group, we reported a couple of times to you all that the Big Ten wanted those AQs, right? They were being aggressive. They wanted the 4-4-2-2. And the Southeastern Conference in return, they wanted to have big time enforcement of the settlement rules. In and around the Deloitte, they wanted that thing tight, and in and around the Sports Commission, the Rev Share, that they wanted the rules enforced big time, and they wanted Big Ten support on that. Do you remember when we reported that? Well, the Southeastern Conference pulled the rug from out under the Big Ten when it came to the AQ situation. As Ross Dillinger reported a couple months ago on his podcast, the SEC athletic directors were 13-3 in favor of the Big Ten AQ model, the first one. And the Big Ten thought they had that locked down. Well, the Southeastern Conference pulled the rug from under the Big Ten, and now the Big Ten pulled the rug from under the Southeastern Conference. That is what's going on. Jeez. Thank you, Opie. Thanks for people remembering that. What a mess. What a mess. And you still got people out there going, geez, Greg, don't you know that because they got a governance structure and it's 65% of the Power Four if the Power Four conferences agree, 65%, they have 65% of the vote, and everybody's locked arms and it's kumbaya. They're singing kumbaya. Everyone's around a campfire. Greg, there is no war going on. Greg, give me a break. Come on. What are you doing? There's more consternation than ever. There is more battles going on than ever. Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right. So, yeah, Big Ten. Second time in 2.5 weeks? Or 2 weeks? The Big Ten has gone soft on a major issue. Sign the damn enforcement membership document. Okay. Now, we head on to our major story for today. Big Ten option B. Big Ten option B. So, we've been talking about here, as been reported, the Big Ten is looking at some private capital deals. 3 major private capital companies have presented a plan to the Big Ten. And that story of yesterday with the California retirement pension fund, it doesn't sound like that is actually part of the story. They've denied the story. So we're still looking at Ares, private equity company, Apollo Global Management, in 6th Street, right? And we're going to get an answer by the end of the month on if the Big Ten pulls the trigger on or not on this type of deal. As we reported months ago, and we're going to double up on this, we are calling this Big Ten Option B, and it's been out there. Or you can call it Option 1A, but we're going to call it Option B. And it is more easily explainable. Let me get to this. Nicole Albach saying what Tony Petitti said today at the Big Ten Basketball Media Day, asked about private capital. Whether or not we decide to take to a strategic investment, a fancy way of saying strategic partner, whether or not we decide to take on a strategic partner to modernize our conference is what we're considering, with the goal of continuing to grow opportunities for student athletes. PTD says it's one potential avenue for the league to take. It'll be a decision made by all 18 conference members. It is one potential avenue. There is another potential avenue that has been out there for months, and we've talked about it. We've also sort of talked about it when it came to the Big 12's option on why they were looking for private capital, why they were looking for a strategic partner. You can get a strategic partner when it comes to Apollo Global Management, Aries Management, Sixth Street Partners, okay? You can also get it another way. Tony Petitti. The Big Ten is going to be a high sports sponsorship league. That's what our ADs and presidents are committed to. So the Big Ten, now a lot of people, when people go back and forth with me, usually after the live show is over, or they go back and forth with me on X. But people describe the Big 12 and other people's efforts as, well, we're looking at private capital, we're looking at a strategic partner because we're looking to survive. The Big Ten is doing it because they're doing it because greed, right? I get that all the time. You see that on a lot of YouTube channels out there. Well, here's the thing. The Big Ten has expenses that the other conferences do not have. They cover more, they sponsor more teams than the Big 12 and the SEC, and it's not even close. Now, some ACC schools do sponsor a lot of sports teams. And we've talked about this. This is part of the Big Ten's culture. It's not going away. Big Ten athletic departments, they sponsor a whole hell of a lot more programs. They have a lot more sports. It's more diverse. The Big Ten Network feeds off of all these supposed considered non-revenue sports. The Big Ten Network is loaded with live content. Media Gazer. Yesterday. Sources. Paramount Skydance is in talks with private equity firms, including Apollo Global Management, to join its potential $60 billion bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, you remember Paramount Skydance is in the process of buying a whole lot of things. They got private equity invested in them, and they're looking to include possibly Apollo Global Management to join for its bid on Warner Brothers Discovery. And Apollo Global Management is one of the firms, one of the three that are looking for that Big Ten capital investment deal. Apollo Global Management is also the firm that has about leadership is about 24 to 30% dookies in that report. What does this all mean? The Big Ten has been in talks. No, they've been in talks for months about this private capital deal, right? Just like the Big 12. The Big Ten has also been in talks. They've also have done all this research about decoupling their content a little bit in different ways. You know, you hear that Brett Yormark wants, in the next media rights negotiation, he wants to decouple the basketball and the football. He thinks he can sell the basketball content separately. The Big Ten also believes that. But their pathway is a little bit different. What they're thinking is that Big Ten network content, we can sell that. Now, the Big Ten network makes a lot of money for the Big Ten. The Big Ten schools, the Big Ten conference. They think they can make even more money. And they can sell some of that in separate slices. Some of that would be women's sports slice, like the women's volleyball, and sell it. And eventually, this Big Ten network would be put on a massive streaming giant. And that massive streaming giant then has a different type of relationship with Fox and with the Big Ten. And that's how the Big Ten thinks that they can get more value. They think they're being undervalued, right? Just like everybody else. So whether it is with Google, whether it is with Amazon, whether it could be some relationship with Paramount Global, CBS on Paramount Plus, or if Warner Brothers is bought on Max streaming, or a combination of thereof, they believe that they can get more money for their Olympic sports, even more money out of them, because they get more money out of their Olympic sports than any other conference when it comes to media. They think they can get even more. So what is happening here? What is happening here? This Super League idea, remember this Super League idea of 70 teams, and the teams would be paid in different tiers. Remember that idea? And there would be an equity partner. People don't want to think about that, but there were going to be billions and billions and billions of dollars put into the Super League from a private equity company. At that time, a lot of people thought it was a great idea. They didn't really care that a private equity company was going to come in as long as we were all under one umbrella. Well, all these ideas that have come about, and remember, it was reported when this private capital, when these private equity firms talked, like that Johnny Wall Street, when they had that big meeting with everybody, that a lot of athletic directors, Tony Petitti was at that. Other commissioners were at that. All these ideas, these conferences, they're all looking at the same stuff. They're all processing the same stuff. They're looking at it from, how can we as a conference do this? We mentioned many, many months ago that the Big 12's main point of going through the process is they wanted a partner. They wanted a massive media partner. At least, at the very least, they wanted a firm, an equity firm, a private capital, whatever you want to call it, who had ties with a big streaming company. And they want that in their back pocket before they go to their next media rights negotiations to give them leverage. Remember that discussion that we had many times. That what was Brett Yormark wanted. And in those negotiations, a lot of those private capital groups wanted the Big 12 to incorporate a couple bigger markets like UConn. None of that really happened, not yet. It hasn't happened yet. It may not happen. It may happen. But all that, the same stuff is going on in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten is not just looking at private capital firms, but there's also an option B where they're looking at having the relationships between Fox and somebody else and the Big Ten change a little bit to where the Big Ten can have even more exposure, more revenue for a lot of their content. Fox would have that T1, of course, and that would be going off the bid, and Fox is going to have a large cut of that, and CBS probably will. We'll see what happens, NBC. But the other part, they think they can get even more out of it. And that's what Brett Yormark is basically saying when he says decoupling our content. Brett Yormark does not want all these events being on ESPN Plus anymore. That can't happen. That does not give... Talking about content being undervalued. But the Big 12 had to do that at the time. But Brett Yormark's goal is not to have all this content on ESPN Plus. That is not the future for the Big 12. Unless ESPN breaks the piggy bank on that. But I don't think that's where Brett Yormark is going. Well, the Big Ten is doing the same stuff. I really believe that Fox isn't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. But I think the relationship, I think option B or option 1A is that there's going to be a major media consortium. Maybe it's Paramount Global. Maybe it's CBS itself that takes a lot of that content and throws it up onto something that they've just bought or are going to buy. Or it could be on Amazon. But that is what the Big Ten is looking at. This has been out there for months. We've been talking about it. Not lately, though. But this has been, the door has been open to us. The Big Ten has other planes lined up. And if you go back and listen to what Tony Petitti said today at the Big Ten's Basketball Media Day, whether or not we decide to take a strategic investment, strategic partner to modernize our conference is what we're considering, with the goal of continuing to grow opportunity for student athletes. They want these, they believe they can make money on this sports. Women's softball is so hot in the Big Ten. It is so hot, it's being incredibly undervalued. The Big Ten can sell that women's volleyball. Guys, those arenas, they fill up, the seats fill up. The eyeballs on the Big Ten is very high for those women's softball games. And it's being undervalued. They want to get that out there even more. They want to take the Big Ten vehicle and put it on a major streaming company. and they want to do this with obviously with Fox as their partner, because Fox owns 61% of the Big Ten network. So the Big Ten, people, you got people out there saying, well, these greedy conferences, they don't want the Olympic sports and women's sports to grow. They want whatever. It's ridiculous talk, by the way. The Big Ten is going to be a high sports sponsorship league. That's what our athletic directors and presidents are committed to. So, if you look at all that, and we do know that Brett Yormark really wanted this to happen. He couldn't get it done this year. Maybe he can get it done next year. Brett Yormark really wanted that UConn, that New York, New England, New York City media. He wanted that incorporated into the Big 12. He wanted that UConn basketball, women's and men's, to be part of the Big 12 content, along with their strategic partner. And if you look at the Big Ten, when they expand the conference, when the Big Ten expands the conference, we've often said that it has to be a certain blend. You're going to have to accommodate the presidents somewhere along the line. You're going to have to accommodate Fox somewhere along the line. You're going to have to accommodate NBC if they're still going to be a partner next time. You're going to have to accommodate CBS. You're going to have so you're probably going to have to bring on at least one major big time football brand. But you probably, if you bring on a private capital firms or you bring on this relationship with a streaming giant, and a lot of that content is going to be placed on that streaming giant. Now you're looking at another person that you have to check the box with. You can see an Apollo Global Management being mighty interested in getting part of that, being the major driver of that private capital deal with the Big Ten, getting involved with CBS, Paramount Global, Skydance, Paramount Global. You can understand why maybe a Duke would be more valuable for the Big Ten if they're part of the Big Ten network with their basketball program. Obviously, they're going to be on, if they become part of the Big Ten, they'll be on CBS for a lot of the games, but some of that game is going to be on the Big Ten network. That's going to drive stuff. You're looking at Florida State and Miami, those big football brands. I think it's very important for people to recognize that, yes, we're looking at a late October date, a deadline of where these private capital firms are most likely going to get an answer from the Big Ten. It's going to be a yes or it's going to be a no. But there is something else in back of that. There is something else in back of that. And that is the Big Ten is looking to change how they deliver their content to get even greater value. They're not going to dump the Big Ten network. But somebody might get some more percentage ownership of the Big Ten network. The Big Ten schools have already given up a little bit more ownership to Fox. Fox has now more percentage of the ownership. And that percentage might be going somewhere else. As part of a bigger story. So we wanted to make sure that got out here on Peek Around the Corner, college football Peek Around the Corner. In discussing all that, you know, you look at Tony Petitti's words. We're looking, they're not, they want more investment in Olympic sports, more investment in women's sports. They see it growing. You're seeing Apollo Global Management possibly being in bed with Paramount Skydance. Apollo Global Management possibly being in bed with the Big Ten. Let me get to your comments. Why would I buy streaming service for everything I can see on the Big Ten Network already in my package? Where their Big Ten might be in your package, Sean, but it ain't in other people's packages. Some of these streaming giants go to markets where the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 are not in, but they want to be in. And if they're in those packages and if they only get a penny or two, they're going to make a lot more money. You've got Amazon Prime India, Amazon Prime this, so it might be in your package, Sean, but it ain't in other people's packages. Does Fox take 50% of the profits from the Big Ten Network and the schools split the other 50%, or is there some other split? Fox takes 61%. And then the other 39% is split 16 different ways. Washington and Oregon are not fully invested members of the conference yet. They do get a little bit. They do get a little bit. It sounds like there may be a blend coming on option A and option B. Yeah. And the conference gets, yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to get, the Big Ten could set up its own pay-per-view. I don't know about that. Through their Big Ten website. Florida State is better at softball than anyone in the Big Ten. Husker volleyball is a moneymaker. Paramount Streaming's own Pluto TV, 80 million subscribers. Let me see here. Let me get Ricky Tungate. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Mr. Hoosier, Mr. Ricky Tungate, he's getting ready. He's getting ready for the Oregon Ducks. And I got Indiana covering that game. So come on, Indiana. Come on, Indiana. You got to cover that for me, baby. I'm 42-44. I'm only 2 games below 500. 2 games below 500 against the spread. Come on, Indiana. I need you, Ricky. I need you. $10 holler. Just stopping by to say hello at work. We'll watch later. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate it so very much. Again, no matter what answer we get by the end of the month on this private capital stuff for the Big Ten, there is something else that's out there. In fact, you know what? Sometime this weekend, during our watch party games or something, I know Petitti had some sort of interview, some sort of comment. I know he said it because when he said it, I had some people chatter behind the curtain say, see that, Greg? They alerted it to me. but I did not capture it. I got to find it. If anybody else can find it, let me know in the chat. Send it to me on the DM. But he actually said, Silent Tony actually said to somebody somewhere that we're looking at taking women's sports and negotiating just the women's sports slice of that, what they would call third tier content. I mean, they're all planning this stuff. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So there's another big story coming, regardless of what happens to the private capital investment, yes or no. No real updates on realignment. Well, you're not going to get those updates until we get through some of these huge, massive stories. Thank you, Azon the Kid. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on in. What's the watch party game this week, Greg? I have not made my final decision yet. That could be still Austin. That is what the Big 12 wants to do. That's what the Big 12 wants to do. The Big 10 might only be a two-big conference. Who knows? That very well could happen. Indiana has to cover, not let Oregon blow them out. If they don't and USC beats Michigan, the Buckeyes going to throttle Illinois. Could be. Paramount Skydance equals Redbird Capital. You are correct, R-Web. Your mark has blazed every foot of every one of these trails being followed by the Big 10. Okay. TNT future of the Big 12. Fox owns the Big 10 content since the content is owned by the Big 10 network. Yes, I mean, Fox would have to be a player in all this. They would have to... You know, Fox has had... Fox has had the sort of launch of their streaming. Fox has had a lot of different discussions on the streaming element, where they're going in the future. We'll see what happens. We are going to open up the phone lines. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Talk about college football coming up this weekend. We do have a big football game tonight. Big football game tonight. We got the ECU. We got the Pirates. So buckle up, ECU. Buckle up. East Carolina, Tulane. East Carolina, Tulane. 7:30 Eastern time. East Carolina is 1-0 in the American. Tulane is 1-0 in the American. Very important game. Ohio State is going to throttle the Illini. Not so fast, my friend. Illini Ted is in the house.
From
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours.
Well, how you doing, buddy? Got here late to the show.
No problem.
Okay, so I was trying to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
So the Big Ten has not signed off on the House settlement yet internally.
No, they signed off on the House settlement. Everyone had to sign off on that. It's this membership document in which everyone would sign this and say the following: we will not participate in any lawsuits that goes against the fundamentals of the settlement.
Isn't that kind of part of the settlement?
No, that's separate from the settlement. Everyone signed the settlement, so the judge, so they made the decision. But you've got different state laws that are going on, right? Like the state law in Tennessee is telling the University of Tennessee, you don't have to follow this settlement. Well, that is making this membership document where everyone comes and says, all right, it doesn't matter what our attorney general says in our own state. We as the university, we signed the settlement. We are abiding by it. We are reconnecting with all of you. We're not going to be a participant in any suit against this settlement and what we have to do to make sure the settlement works. Like the Deloitte Clearinghouse, all that stuff. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so you think this is, I mean, there could be individual issues with each school/state that are complicating this? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And they're still refusing to go to 9+1, huh?
Well, as of right now, we have not heard anything different. Now a lot of the schools are already going 9+1, but they're not making a requirement, and I think they should obviously make it a requirement.
Well, just this year, what if Penn State had a +1? I mean, they played 3 cupcakes. They were ranked number 2.
Would help them.
Well, it couldn't have hurt, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, if nothing else, it could have been a good loss.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, you know, that's wild, right? And then I know scheduling's hard, and like I said, they have 18, and they may be going more higher soon. So, you know, scheduling's difficult, and they're spread out all over, right? So that's probably an issue too. And
go ahead.
You know, so you know, USC probably wants to go up and down the coast and play the old Pac guys, right? More than they want to go all the way to Rutgers. So, I mean, I understand that. Oh, well, wow, huh? So yesterday, I think when you were doing your program, you said that you might come on late last night if you had more news, but we didn't have more news. Okay.
Well, no, it doesn't mean we don't have more news. It just doesn't mean we're not ready to.
We're not ready to announce yet.
Okay.
You're working the problem, but the chicken's still in the oven. Okay.
Yeah, still in the oven. That's a good way of putting it.
Right. Yeah, and we really think they can. Are they going to have an agreement for every little sport?
A
media agreement?
No. No, but I think there's they're looking at different ways of you know, they know what sport in the Big Ten Network is getting the eyeballs, right? And just like basketball gets more eyeballs than the other sports, and football gets more than basketball, they know who gets more eyeballs between softball, baseball, wrestling, hockey, volleyball, and all that stuff. And some of those sports are, they think they can get more money out of it. I mean, look, the Big Ten, as much as I've called them soft today, and they seem to be on everyone's hit list lately, but the Big Ten is the one they're the conference that went out there and created the network and got more money out of their Olympic sports than anybody else. I mean, ESPN lowballed them, and the Big Ten said, "This is not your offer is patently low, and we're gonna in the Big Ten." Jim Delaney told ESPN, "We're gonna go ahead and make our own conference, and we're gonna put this content on our own conference network." And ESPN said, "Roll those dice," and Jim Delaney famously said, consider those dice rolled." So they made the network, and they've been able to create more revenue out of these third-tier content than anybody else. And now they think there's another level of that, and that's what they're pursuing. I can't sit here and completely explain how and why. And I mean, I can explain why, but I can't explain the how. And they might not be able to pull it off, but there is that attempt. And Brett Yormark, in some ways, is doing the same thing. And I'm sure the problem with the Southeastern Conference, Christopher Hooter, your conference,
my new walk-ons patch. Keep going. And my new walk-ons patch on my Tiger uniform.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well,
Popeye's fried chicken.
There is pros and cons for the Southeastern Conference to have one media partner. Now, I know TNT or, ESPN starting to sub-license and all that. But that's
ESPN's decision. That's ESPN's decision.
The Southeastern Conference has one media partner, Disney, that owns ABC, ESPN, and all that. The biggest pro is, without a shadow of a doubt, is if you are in the South or if you love SEC football like my 92-year-old Catholic mother does up here in the North, her favorite team's Alabama, all you got to do is keep it on ABC or ESPN.
Correct.
You're watching SEC football all day long.
Yes.
Big Ten Network, you got to go all over the hell. So that in itself helps the Southeastern Conference ratings. Okay.
Is it on CBS? Is it on NBC? Is it on Fox? Peacock, Fox Sports 1? Where do I go? Right. Yep.
So that's a major pro. The major negative is the Big Ten has the ability to really work through Fox to get the best squeeze out of this content, because Fox can't put it all up on their content, all on their platforms. So over the years, the Big Ten has had these shorter contracts and media contracts, so they're able to renegotiate, and they're able to squeeze this and this and this and this out. So there's pros and cons of how both conferences do it. Both conferences are successful in how they do it. They probably chosen the way that because how they're set up, and they're both mighty wealthy. But go ahead, sir.
Is the Olympic sports strictly with Fox, or is that smeared around everywhere too? And maybe I don't mean basketball, but I mean the other sports. Is that it's right now just Fox / the Big Ten Network?
Like baseball is on the Big Ten Network. Right,
which is with Fox, yes.
Yeah, but the Big Ten schools own part of the Big Ten Network. You see, the Southeastern Conference schools, your LSU Tiger does not own a part of the SEC network. Does not have ownership. But the University of Minnesota owns a slice of the Big Ten Network. It's just a different way in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten schools can squeeze a little bit more out of that as well.
So you're saying the trucks that drive around like the Pac-12 network? Yeah. So the Pac-12 owned all that stuff, right? And that kind of hurt them. But anyway, so you're saying so the Big Ten owns half the network, so they own half the trucks and half the broadcast equipment and all that.
Yeah, Fox owns 61% of the Big Ten network. The other 39% is owned by the slices that the Big Ten schools have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Both conferences both conferences do a lot of things differently, and then the Big 12 and the ACC do a lot of things differently than the SEC and the Big Ten. So if you're gonna do this Super League, you're gonna have to spend like Cody Campbell's plan. You're gonna have to get. This is per Cody Campbell. Don't yell at me. Per Cody Campbell, September 18th, article, Ross Dellinger, go ahead and read it. You're going to have to use private equity. You're going to have to get millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to get the SEC out of their contracts. the Big Ten out of their contracts, the Big 12 out of their contracts. You're probably going to have to give Christopher Hooter and the LSU Tiger a few $1 million to get out of their jersey patch contract, and so on and so on and so on.
With Popeye's fried chicken. Wow. Yeah.
Alrighty, sir.
That's amazing. I'm trying to think what year was it when because I know Mike. I think it was Mike Slive then. I think he kind of wanted to sit back and let the Big Ten go first.
I don't remember the year, 2010, 11, something like that. But we got other callers, Christopher. Sorry,
okay.
man.
All right, buddy.
All
right, enjoyed it, man. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Talk to you. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Call from
Steel Austin.
Steel Austin, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Greg, doing well. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
Hey, quick question. I just wanted to better understand the issues with both Stanford and Duke as it relates to the whole, their affiliation with the Ivy Plus Libraries Confederation. I've heard you and Moen kind of refer to that before, and it's not clear to me. What my understanding is Stanford was originally positioned to join with USC, but they declined to join because they wouldn't give that up. Is that correct?
That's not. I do not believe that Stanford was in the mix at all, to be honest with you.
Okay. I thought that was their big hang-up, is that
it might be the hang-up for future Big Ten expansion, like when the Big Ten was looking at, but it very well might be a hang-up because Stanford might not want to join what the Big Ten has going on, right? When it comes to their research, it's I don't know really a lot about it, but it's a separation. They use different libraries. They're, like the Big Ten, for example, under the cancer research and things, there's a lot of there's a lot of sharing of faculty. Even like you can work for Purdue and you can work for Illinois. Like they share faculty, they share labs, they collaborate on federal grants and everything, and they bid on it together, and you've got all this stuff going on, which is a type of world that I could possibly never understand, Austin, because I'm the original Minnesota moron. It's way beyond anything I could comprehend. Duke and Stanford they're on their own major, huge, massive island onto themselves. And I don't know the intricate details of why Stanford would not want to join the Big Ten. But I can't give you the reasons, Austin. But as you know, when we're talking about athletic conferences and people saying, well, if Stanford joins the Big Ten and this major college football team does not join the Big Ten, well, the Big Ten's going to lose $5 million a year because this Stanford doesn't bring enough viewership and stuff like that, right? But the presidents look at the bottom line, and a Stanford would bring in a lot more money, on other parts of the books for these schools.
Without a doubt, without question.
Yeah, so that's, the presidents look at it different than we do.
I guess it was sounding to me like Duke is way more motivated to join the Big Ten, and if that's really a requirement to have to relinquish their Ivy Plus membership to join the Big Ten Academic Alliance, it sounded like Duke is much more motivated to do that than Stanford, but maybe I just, I'm misunderstanding something. But that's where what I was just not getting and was curious about.
Yeah, there are there are requirements in the Big Ten. There are expectations that when you move into the athletic conference, you also move into the research consortium.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Stanford may not be interested in that. And Duke may end up not being interested in that, although I think they are interested in that from what I'm told. So,
yeah, and I can only imagine if Stanford's not interested, it's definitely because that whole affiliation means way more money to them as a university, as an institution, than an athletic affiliation.
yeah. And I just put up this stuff. Let's see. Like Duke, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Of course, this doesn't show the money. Total R&D expenditures, 2023. Duke was number 11. That's out of all the universities in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking close to $2 billion a year. So we're talking money that kind of in Ohio State was number 14th ranked. So, I mean, Ohio State is a massive research university. Massive. And, of course, Michigan is number 4 in the country. Massive. So, when we're talking Ohio State and Michigan, and they're looking for conference mates, you know, they're looking for they're looking for what they would consider Big Ten universities that would help them on different ledgers, not just the athletic ledger.
Yeah. Do you know if it's a hardline requirement by the Big Ten? Like, meaning, is there any possibility that the Big Ten would allow Stanford to join without joining the Big Ten Academic Alliance?
I don't know. The Big Ten Academic Alliance is pretty important.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I can't really, I don't, boy, I really don't, I don't know. I don't think so. If I had to put my chips on the table, I would say no, but.
Yeah, I don't know how that whole thing worked out while they were in the Pac-12, like, you know, since they were the only institution that had that affiliation.
The Pac-12 was different in that regards, so it just is. Yeah.
Okay, well that's really all I had for today. Just
right.
Was curious about that.
You got it, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
All right, so far, again, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. I appreciate y'all coming on in. So far today, we've had a stacked show. We've talked about the easy pathways when it comes to the schedules. These are the toughest ones to get to the college football playoffs, the easiest ones. Left to go: Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, and TCU. We talked about the LSU jersey patch. Athletic Director Clay Harris announces Tigers have signed a multi-million-dollar jersey patch sponsor. We do not know what that sponsor is, and we do not know how much it is for. And then I went on a rant, the Big Ten not signing that agreement, that enforcement agreement. You can go back and listen to that if you missed it. But my goodness, Big Ten, come on, get on board. And then we talked about Tony Petitti at the Big Ten's Basketball Media Day, asked about private capital. Whether or not we decide to take a strategic investment, strategic partnership to modernize our conference is what we're considering with the goal of continuing to grow opportunities for student athletes. They want to get bigger, not just they want to get into bigger markets, more markets, different sponsorships, different platforms. They are looking to get bigger, more money, just like every other conference. They do not want to cut down on their sponsored sports. They want to get bigger. Petitti says one of the potential avenue for the league to take, it'll be a decision made by all 18 conference members. Tony Petitti, the Big Ten is going to be a high sport sponsorship league. The Big 12 is not. The SEC is not. Now, that doesn't mean that the Big 12 doesn't want to grow more sports. Doesn't mean that the Southeastern Conference doesn't want to do it. It's just a different philosophy, different culture, different history. The Big Ten has more expenses. They don't want to cut down on sponsored sports. So, they got to bring in the cash. And then we talked about the Paramount Skydance is in talks with private equity firms, including Apollo Global Management, to join its potential $60 billion bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. David Ellison is in talks with major private equity firms. So, Paramount, Skydance, CBS is in talks with major private equity firms. The Big Ten is in talks with major private equity firms. And Big Ten option B, if this private capital deal falls short, is to get some sort of different structure and some different element, different platforms of showcasing their Olympic sports. Still on the Big Ten Network. But the Big Ten Network, the goal is for the Big Ten Network to be shined upon a major streaming platform in the future, and with certain maybe split off negotiations for certain Olympic sports. Thank you, Christopher Hooter, for the $5 holla. Big Ten Network, August 2007. Pac-12 11, SEC 2014. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. Still, Austin doesn't think the Big Ten is going to stop at 20. Arnagad, the states of Colorado and Arizona each have a GDP nearly twice the size of Utah. USC will get what it wants. It already got what it wanted. It wanted when USC was negotiating with the Big Ten, and we reported this at the time, during the springtime of 2022, USC had a lot of leverage, and USC and UCLA became fully invested members of the Big Ten. In other words, USC gets the same amount from the Big Ten Network as the original members of the Big Ten when the network started in 2007. That hadn't happened before.
From
Tristan 5.
Tristan 5, can you hold on for just a second?
Yes.
I appreciate it. What I'm trying to say is, when the Big Ten Network was created, all the Big Ten teams at the time all had to not take any money from Fox for about 5 or 6 years. Because Fox was the sugar daddy. They built the Big Ten Network, and the Big Ten schools, because they were going to have an ownership slice of it, the Fox did not have to distribute any money made from the network to the Big Ten schools. When Nebraska was added. They did not get any Big Ten Network money for 4 or 5 years. When Rutgers and Maryland were added, they did not get any Big Ten Network money for 4 or 5 years. They all had to pay into that slice, that ownership slice. But when USC and UCLA signed on, they didn't have to pay anything. They didn't have to pay a dime. They get everything that everybody else is getting from day one. USC and UCLA are the only Big Ten schools that got that deal. Now, if the Big Ten expands here, and depending on what they do with the Big Ten Network, what vehicle, we don't know what the new members we're going to get when they come on board. Are they going to be like a USC, UCLA deal, or are they going to be like all the rest of us? Go ahead, Tristan. The floor is yours. Thanks for your patience. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for taking my call, Greg.
You bet.
Hey, listen, so you were talking earlier about the Big Ten not signing the, I forget what the document was, that the SEC signed.
Membership document, something another.
Right, and you were saying, why would they not sign it? I had a different idea as to why they wouldn't sign it.
Okay.
The first thing that popped into my mind is that if they sign that, then that makes them look bad for not doing anything to Michigan.
Well, they did do something to Michigan.
Right, but it was sort of a slap on the wrist, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, okay. That did not come to my mind, but all right.
Yeah, so that was one thing. And then I also wanted to mention to you that the SEC, they have all of their media rights tied up with ESPN or with the Mouse.
Yeah.
And Greg, I really believe, and I just want to see if you agree with this idea. The real motive behind that is that it's not that that's considered, I think, an ideal way of doing it. I actually prefer the Big Ten's approach where you spread it around and maximize each tier, that you're trying to profit from. But the idea, I think, with the SEC is they are trying their darndest to maintain some sort of a monopoly with the regional universities, right? Mm-hmm. All the universities in their region that they care about, they want to expand within that footprint. And ESPN is the business partner that they think can make that happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the primary driver for them going all in with ESPN.
Yes, I do think, though, they do want to expand their footprint.
They do. But, Greg, so far it's yielded, Texas A&M and Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
That was like 13 or 14 years ago. And then most recently, of course, Texas and Oklahoma. And now we're talking about some ACC schools possibly relocating. And so, to me, that's the motive. And I think if their expansion plans work and they end up with all the universities within the footprint that they want, then the media deals going forward are going to be more open-ended, and you'll have other, I think, entities getting a piece of the pie that the SEC is offering. That's just an opinion. I don't think they'll stick with ESPN forever. This is a temporary arrangement so that they can get all the realignment worked out that they need. Mm-hmm. That's my guess.
It could be. It could be, sir.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Greg, that's all I had. I'll wrap at you later, and you keep up the good work.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Greg.
Beautiful
Bye-bye.
call, my man. Beautiful call. Tristan always has great, thoughtful calls. Beautiful call. Hold on, everybody. I gotta try to hold on. Hopefully I can figure this out. Everyone, give me a moment here, please. Give me one moment, please. Everybody give me a moment. I'm calling a timeout. No, I don't want that. Let me, okay, I don't know if this is going to deliver us any information, new information. Nick Schultz of On3, Tony Petitti discusses idea of private capital modernizing college sports. I do not know if this is going to get us any more news. Last week, news broke that the Big Ten was on talk with a potential private capital deal. Such an agreement would infuse upward of $2 billion and extend the league's grant of rights. Tony Petitti today called it a part of his responsibility as commissioner to consider all options related to revenue generation. He also reiterated the conference statement after the report surfaced about the need to modernize. And I happen to think, you know what? I don't have this big enough for you guys to see. I apologize for that. Okay. This word modernize, I think, has to do with strategic partnership. They need a partner that has networking, expertise to make the brand, to make everything more valuable, to push the market, to push the whole thing, right? That's what I think Tony Petitti means by modernize. Particularly following the approval of the House settlement, Petitti said resources are crucial to setting up a conference up for success. That's why his goals is to explore those opportunities, including a potential strategic investment. The responsibility in the office that I feel as a commissioner is to maximize the resources for our member institutions, Petitti said to On3. We're among the highest sports sponsorship in the country. We have basically the most student athletes given the size of the league and the fact that we have 28 championships. We have many institutions that sponsor more than 28 championships that we sponsor. I think in a world that's changing like it has, with the settlement and revenue share, the obligation in the conference office is to make sure that we're resourced properly. That largely has been media deals, sponsorships, all of those things. So, setting up a structure that can maximize that activity is important. Whether or not we need a strategic investment to help us will determine, but it'll be done by all 18 leaders, and I think it's no different than looking at the other buckets that we have to maximize resources. It's one other avenue that may or may not be available to us. So again, this private capital, it may not happen. It may not happen. It may not happen this year. It may not happen next year. Setting up a structure that can maximize that activity is important. It may not be used with private capital. It may be what we talked about during this show, about a strategic partner in another way. The Big Ten's focus remains on the SCORE Act. Tony Petitti reaffirmed the Big Ten's commitment to the SCORE Act. Tony Petitti calls for patience with the College Sports Commission. Okay, that's about it. I just wanted to see if there's any big breaking news on that. Not too much. We covered it. Yes, North Carolina assistant coach. Breaking news, Nicole Auerbach from UNC, North Carolina assistant football coach Armand Hopkins has been suspended for violating NCAA rules related to extra benefits. He will remain on leave as the Department of Athletics further investigates other potential actions detrimental to the team and universities. So there it is. That has been rumored for a little bit, and it happened. North Carolina assistant football coach Armand Hopkins has been suspended for violating NCAA rules related to extra benefits. Alrighty, guys. I want to thank Opie D. Don, Ricky Tungate, and Christopher Hooter for your donations. I do appreciate you three gentlemen for your generosity to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. I hope you've all enjoyed this show. Again, we'll be on here tomorrow, Friday. We're also going to be trying to do that Friday watch party. I don't have that locked in, but I'm hoping to do the Tulane East Carolina football. No, that's hold on. Tonight is East Carolina Tulane. The Friday night game. What is the Friday night game that I'm trying to get? I can't even remember. South Florida, North Texas. South Florida, North Texas. That is the watch party that I want to get done. I want to do tomorrow night. So I hope you join us for that. But we're going to have our normal live show tomorrow sometime during the afternoon or early evening. You got to keep your head on a swivel. We cover all the breaking news in college football. Please, before you leave, subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, smash the like button if you like our content. I thank you all. Great phone calls. Thank you for the generosity. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Please. Thank you so very much. And as always, God, family, golden